Something very interesting in this part is a globalization. Now, globalization, people, is one of the most well-known or important buzzwords going around nowadays. And when they ask these questions regarding globalization, people, please don't only stick to your notes. Don't only stick to your textbooks. Please watch the news, read the newspapers. You must know what's going on in this world. Because they could ask you a case study. They could ask you examples that has just happened within the past year or two, or even the few months ago. So let's just have a look at globalization. Now, people, let's move towards a definition of globalization. Now, let's just have a look at this cartoon that I've brought with here. These are all Americans here. They were on holiday, and the one says, "We've got these cool hats at Nike Town in Paris." I mean, Nike is an American brand. And the lady says, "And these great shirts at the Disney store in London." You know Disney World is in America. This guy says, "After a great dinner at McDonald's in Rome, we found these neat shorts at the Gap." Now, these are all American people, and they could get these American brands, they could get all over the world. And an interesting thing that we have is you can have a couple eating sushi in Japan. You can have a lady buying French perfume in Australia. A Brazilian man driving an American car. So now we are trying to move towards a definition of globalization. Now, people, please remember, there are many different definitions of globalization. But let's just have to look at a very, very general one of a definition of globalization. It's the exchange of capital, people, information, and ideas across the world. Now, people, whatever definition you make use of, remember it has to do with something happening across the world. That is what globalization is all about. So people, please remember this. Now, okay. Now, immediately the question is, but what was the influence? What was the effects of globalization? Let's have a look at the effects of globalization. The first thing that we would have, like to have a look at are the advantages of globalization. Now, let's have a look at the advantages of globalization. Firstly, you've got access to goods and services all over the world because of globalization. The second advantage, greater variety of things to buy. Can you imagine going to town looking for a suit or looking for a pair of trousers or a t-shirt, and you only had South African products on the market? Now you've got a greater variety of things to buy. The following one, foreign investments can help countries by means of globalization. And then we become aware of our role as global citizens, because although we are not physical in America, by means of the products we are really connecting with that country. Although we are not in Japan, by eating sushi, you are really connecting with that country. And these are all the things that play a role in a globalized world. But remember, the disadvantages of globalization are just as important. So let's have a look at the disadvantages of globalization. Firstly, a lack of accountability, especially for your multinational corporations. Now, multinational corporations, they've got the head office in a country, say for instance the United States, but then they've got factories all over the world. And they completely lack accountability of a factory and other people. Secondly, disadvantage, no benefits for the poor people. Poor people, in fact, later on you'll hear that was completely detrimental to them. And then a cultural loss and same way. Remember, we all wear the same brands. We all eat the same foods. We all nearly look alike. Now, you wear the same Nike shirt as somebody else, or the same Billabong thing as somebody else. Because of these brands, we had a loss of culture. You know, we're still looking for traditional way that people used to wear, especially in Africa. But now, because globalization has flooded Africa with different brands, the culture was completely lost. because people don't even eat their food, the indigenous food of their culture. They don't wear their cultural clothes, and they try to look more than Western people. Now, these are the disadvantages. But the most important thing, people, is our own continent and even our country. What happened? Did globalization help us, or did we have problems? Let's have a look at that. What was the impact of globalization on Africa? The first thing is that Africa became poorer, actually, because of globalization. Secondly, a lack of development because of globalization. And then poor governance in Africa. And here, the loss of identity. I've just talked about the cultural loss. And what's important is that Africa has become a dumping ground for movies, for food, for music. Your type of music. You know, when you listen to your music, it will be, for instance, the chance will be 100% it's going to be an American a rap artist. And our indigenous music is completely lost. So people, please, we still want to have our own identity. And once Africa has become a dumping ground of this, actually it was very detrimental on Africa as a continent as a whole. So these are the effects of globalization. I've just added a very interesting slide here, just to sum up all the words, the key words that are really mentioned in globalization. I'm not going to explain them. Just listen to them and you'll see. Economic integration, equality, inequality, communication, recognition of brands. Everybody can recognize a McDonald's burger. Trade versus aid, outsourcing, brands, exploitation, growth, poverty, the environment, power, capitalism, culture, free trade, technology, internet, the shrinking of the world, terrorism, accountability. Now, people, if you look at all these keywords that I put on the slide, these are the keywords that are actually playing a role in globalization. And please, try to remember some of them. If you get a question in the exams, there's a strong possibility that you can use them in the answer of some of the questions.